Today I'm headed to the Humboldt city. It's right up this road. It was active in the 1800s, so it's over 100 years old. There are over 200 buildings and a whole lot of residents. Should be interesting. A lot of the people who came out to this city, it was a mining city. They hoped to get rich. That was their primary objective. They wanted to come out here and make a lot of money, but that was antithesis to what had actually happened for most. Most went broke. Maybe they barely survived, but a lot of people, very few got rich or even made profit with the mines outside of the town. With that being said, let's get going. It was a relatively short-lived city too, only active for a couple decades. So let's get going, have a look around and check out this old ghost town. At one time a busy mining community boasting a population of over 500 residents at its peak in 1863, the Humboldt City ghost town now sits abandoned, only receiving a sparse amount of visitors. Like most towns, the opening of Humboldt's post office in 1862 marked when it officially became an active mining community. The city contained over 200 houses, 2 hotels, 2 saloons, and multiple shops. Many miners flocked from statewide in hopes of striking it rich, but few were successful. Most mines around the town were considered to be failures, extracting only a conservative amount of valuable minerals when in comparison to neighboring towns at the time. The city was abandoned in 1969 when the post office closed. Join us as we explore what remains of the Humboldt City ghost town. I'm currently around the outskirts of the ghost town. This is kind of where it begins, where this road is. And I stopped right outside of the town because I noticed that waste rock pile on the mountain I want to check out. And if you follow this road, it is a dead end, although at the end of it, right there, looks like some old equipment. So let's go check out that equipment, then have a look at that waste rock pile. I'm now at the end of the road, and it looks like it's an old homestead. Perhaps the miners who owned that mine lived down here right outside of the ghost town in the outskirts. On this side is some ruins as well. Nothing significant, but there's still some trash scattered about. Stuff that looks like it came off the homestead. I see remnants of an old water tank. And looks like another building right there. Likely a workshop. There's those 2 cement slabs and this piece of wood. Not sure what it would have been. Just trash on that side, not too much. And we have that homestead to look at in a second. As we go further into the town, there will be a lot more remains. Although it is a very old town, so I'm not counting on too much. Looks like that was once the chimney. So maybe the house was sitting right here. Up there's flattened out too, so likely a homestead up here. Some old mattresses on the ground, just rusting away. There's probably a lot of trash in the washout too. Yep. Some old pieces of wood. Stuff down there. All in the washout. Looks like a lot of stuff that came off the house. And now we have a mine to check out. Which, with how old this ghost town is, it's probably caved in. We could still go up there though. There's probably some old remains. It's a prospect pit. Nothing significant. So let's go hike into that town now. Just came from those mountains. And I found this foundation indicating a homestead. Not a lot left over. As we go further into the town, there's going to be standing structures, or there should be from what I've been told. This one just has the rock wall remaining. Looks like they cemented it too. That's neat to see. Out of the ground. Wonder if they use this water for anything, like maybe houses in the distance or some town. This is interesting. Looks like the pipe decided to burst. That's coming out. So if all this piping there, they must use it for some property. I know there's houses down in that valley, so maybe those houses are connected to this water. This is their primary water source. I don't know, I'm just taking a guess. But it's interesting to see how it's all plumbed and piped. And on this side is an old home. Now we're officially inside of the ghost town. Rock walls, those things last forever. There's not much else left. This place is so old, all the wood's probably rotted. I've reached another homestead, and as I've been walking, I keep seeing this pipe with multiple places where water's just escaping like this. It is beyond repair. And I found some sections, they had some plastic PVC piping rather than the metal, which means they replaced it over the years. That makes me think this is still a used water source. Somebody still uses it, if they're still doing repairs on it. It just keeps on going down the mountain. That's another foundation, except it's all overgrown, so you can't see a lot of it. Although, interestingly enough, Looks like it went underground. So this was an underground building. If you could see that. Maybe not a building. Look how thin it is. This short, narrow tunnel underground. And it dead ends over there. It doesn't go anywhere. On this side, it continues. And that piece of wood I was just standing on, it goes right underneath that. Wonder what that tunnel would have been used for. You could see it's right down there, that tunnel. And it actually keeps going. It goes to the right of us. No way I'm going down there, but that's super interesting. Perhaps it's like a kind of like a well, except rather than going underground, it picks up the water from that stream and where that wood structure is on it. Maybe people come by with buckets and get the water. I'm just taking guesses, I have no idea. But I've just never seen anything like that before. And this is an old homestead. Look how well that rock wall has been standing. It hasn't fallen down or anything, despite the roof being gone and everything else. This side's gone. That would have likely been the entryway. So it looks like that was almost a basement right there. It dips down. I've hiked a quarter of a mile and I'm beginning to get to the heart of Humboldt City. And I found this meadow down here. I don't know whose grave this is, although when I researched this place, I heard that there's an Indian guy who lived up here, and when he died, he was buried at Humboldt City, right in this valley, so perhaps that's his grave. You might notice a lot of these buildings seem to be very far away from each other. And that's because a lot of the buildings are now gone. A lot of them were built out of wood. So they've all rotted away and nothing remains. Until we get to the middle of town, then we'll see some wood structures. This is the most intact house we've seen as of right now. That would have been the window. I could see the frame for it. Little storage, a shelf out of what looks to be a dynamite box. Another little place where storage would have been. That small homestead we looked at is right over there. All those trees is that meadow. And I finally seen a wood structure right there. We're finally hitting the main part of town, so everything's close together. See a couple other buildings in the distance. Looking at those other homesteads that we're going to look at soon. Let's check this one out real quick. It's the first building we've seen that actually has an intact roof. The roof is beginning to fall down. A couple more winters and it'll be gone. That middle part's going to collapse, especially for where we're at. Humboldt City does get quite a significant amount of snow in comparison to a lot of parts of Nevada. There's just debris scattered about. It's crazy to think how old this building is too. And look at a old part of a shovel. Flooring is all gone. So the walls looked like they were half rock and then half wood. This part of the roof has already fallen. There's nothing right there. Would have had a window. And then I don't see anything else in this house. Let's go check out those other structures. Those are the big ones. That one right there might be the saloon. Okay, that is awesome. This one's actually in decent condition. Wall's still intact. Roof's still, wouldn't say in good condition, but still functional. They built it right by the washout. Walls are in decent condition. Not the best, but in decent. You could see those would have been screened windows. This part of the wall is gone. And I don't see, on the roof, I don't see anywhere where a furnace would go. Other than at this spot, and there's a little bit of blackened wood right there, so maybe that's where the furnace was. It just seems like an odd location because the entryway is right there, so the moment you went into the house you'd be confronted by the furnace. Not much room. That would have been real neat to see before the windows are smashed out, is that view. They had all those windows lined up like that, looking at the washout. That is neat. You could see some fencing right there. That's all been pushed away from the hillside being eroded. And now we have this building to check out. Let's walk around the outside of it first. It's quite a big one. Likely a business. With a tree growing inside of it. So it looks like this is two completely different buildings. They're close together, but they're still separated. Sneak peek inside. And the roof's gone. It's all collapsed. Looks quite empty. Perhaps this was a hotel. Looking at how there's multiple entryways right next to one another. begin with, you could have gone in this way. Maybe this was one small room. The walls are still in decent condition. I bet there's a wall right there before, because why would they have two entryways only feet from each other, about 3 feet, 3.5. So this was probably a small room. And then there's this entryway, which still has a door intact, still on its hinges too. Just not in too great of condition. This whole place isn't in that good of condition, which is to be expected for how old it is. And these walls, if you're curious, they're stone. And they have this cement stucco-like material insulating it. Probably another small room. Then they had another entryway right there, which I do believe this ghost town had a hotel. If it did, I could guarantee you this was that hotel. And check this out. An old fridge. And had a gate and a fence. Had a fence around this place. This was the front. So you would have come in this way through the gate. Another room. So there's 3 entryways in this one building. Likely 3 bedrooms. Then right next to it, just feet away, is this other building with multiple entryways as well, and another fridge. Let's try to get in this building. This one's very overgrown. No roof left, but the walls are still around. Would have been another entryway at the very back right there, you could see. And then this chimney made out of cinder blocks. Don't see a lot of chimneys at these abandoned ghost towns. Usually there's furnaces. This ghost town supposedly had 2 saloons, so maybe with this chimney, it makes me think this was definitely not a house. It's, to begin with, a huge room. So maybe it was one of the saloons, and right next to it was the hotel, attached to one another as if someone built a cage. Maybe when this ghost town was abandoned, someone else was still living out here, like from that story I heard, the Indian guy, and they had some agriculture. Maybe they used the old hotel beds to build something for chickens or goats or who knows what. Could only guess. It's the building. You could see the chimney. That chimney's going to be standing for a long time. I notice even with the buildings that are demolished, the chimneys always remain. Looking back down that way, that house we looked at is right there, and this is that building we just looked at. What I could guarantee is a hotel. That's what that is. I hear water. There's a water source nearby. There's another building right there at one time. And what a great view too. I could only imagine when this place was active, maybe that tree was just a tiny tree, like a sapling. I don't know what type of tree that is, so I don't know how long it lives, but perhaps some trees live hundreds of years. Could very well be. That's where that water is coming from, that noise. It's another broken part of the pipe, the water pipe that runs through this ghost town. Let's check this out real quick. This spot that was once a building. And I see quite a bit of piping, so we definitely had plumbing, which is to be expected. This ghost town definitely didn't need water trucked in. It gets a lot of snow, so even in the summertime, water was likely plentiful. A lot of nails on the ground. There's a lot of bed frames, perhaps. Maybe this was the hotel, but I think that other building was, just from looking at all the entryways that were in it. Let's go check this other building out. Let's look at the size of that wall. That was absolutely huge. That is a big wall. It's in great condition too. Yeah, this is astonishing. Just look at this. Two doors right there. Let's go into left one. Maybe this was like a kitchen. This could have been like a restaurant slash saloon. Check this out. Still got the window frame. Then an entryway to the outside, which in a kitchen, especially a business, you would have multiple entryways just for safety. An old furnace, perhaps part of a stove. Looking back at that window, this building goes right on the side of the mountain, which over the years, the mountain has just eroded into it. Which apparently they built this place very, very good, just from the fact that none of it's fallen down. That's where the stove would have gone. You could see the ventilation pipe. Yeah, this was likely a kitchen, guaranteed. Another window on that side. Like I said, the old fridge. They laid some mattresses up against the wall, perhaps as storage. Some shelving, probably pantry space. And then another entryway right there that goes outside. We'll go that way in a second. So if this was the kitchen, the customers would have gone out in this room. Just a big open room with whatever they had in this place. Just this whole side of the mountain's been carved out. I bet this was a pantry. Cold food storage. At one time had a roof over this, and back when all this rock wasn't here, obviously. This is just a result of flash floods washing all this down. That's really neat. Let's go back in. Check this roof out too. Would have let a little bit of light in right there. A neat little kitchen. With the pantry right there. Decent sized pantry too. And they even left some carpet behind. Let's go check these other buildings out. I think this is the biggest building in the ghost town. It sure is a neat one. Because you gotta keep in mind, this was a very big city. A lot of people lived here. There are a lot of miners. A lot going on. And directly across the street, looks like there's once a building. It's all gone now. Just trash. And let's keep on going. So really we're in the heart of this ghost town right now. This was the most populated spot. A lot of buildings. Another building would have been here. Some wooden structures up ahead and some rock walls. Looks like another leveled out spot where a building would have been. Maybe a small cabin. And this would have been a building too. You can see the foundation. And on this side, the rock walls. Now we have that one to look at. Another decent sized building. I think it was too big to be a house. As I continue hiking through the town, I keep seeing some old ruins and stuff like that, but it's nothing significant enough to look at. Although I noticed this hole on the side of the mountain that looks like it's been dug out. So I want to hike to it real quick and see what it is. It's nothing. It's been dug out a little bit. Yeah, I could see some structures in the distance. Some ruins, I should say, not intact structures. This is an old foundation. You could tell from how flat it is that there was once a house. And I could see ruins on it. That's as close as I'm going to be able to get. Entryway would have been there. Would have been a one room. Rock walls, had a chimney. Yeah, it's not in bad condition. That goes up. Had one window. Another building was right here. Could see some wood scattered about. Okay, let's go that way now. Might not be able to see it well, but that's an old homestead. There's another homestead on this side. That's just, it's all gone. Not much left. Just some stacked up rocks now. That's what it looks like. This homestead's more intact. So right now we're at, I'm sure you noticed, more of the residential part of the town. Had a building up here with a great view looking down the valley. And back in the day, you could just imagine if you're looking down, you'd see all these buildings and all these houses and businesses scattered throughout this canyon. That would have been such a neat thing to see. I would love to see an old photo of that. And down below us would have been another house likely. And in the distance, I'm sure you could see that rock wall. I'm not going to go to it, but it is worth looking at. Just not much remains. And then looking this way, that's another spot where a house would have been. So I'm at the line where the ghost town pretty much ends. The Humboldt city limits, if you will. There's a couple old wooden structures, but they're all in ruins. Just now they just look like a couple pieces of wood on the ground. It's not really worth looking at. You could see some ruins right there. So there were just houses scattered throughout this canyon with miners who were all hoping to get rich. Very little of them did. Most of them left this place broke. This was a bust of a ghost town. And you got to think, back in the day, it had great promise. You know, there were probably people having conversations about, yeah, the new Humboldt city. That's where you go if you want to get rich. So then that word passes and people come up, they all flock and get jobs at the mines or open their own mines with some investment, and a lot of them lost that investment. This ghost town yielded very little success. Some people made it rich, but very few, and those who did, it wasn't like they made that much money. So this is it today. I'm now going to hike down. There wasn't a lot left, but it's just the history of this place, the fact that it was such a big ghost town, such an interesting ghost town, and such a unique ghost town, you know. Back in the day, this place was huge. That's really what intrigued me to come up and check this place out. And it was totally worth it. I loved this exploration. I hope you did too. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video, like the video, and thank you so much for watching. Now I'm going to hike down the mountain, get back to my vehicle, and get on the road again.